And we're live.
Yes. How are we doing? Well, good?
Yep.
Smashing. Cracking.
Scott?
How are you boys?
Oh, well, now.
Rather excited.
You see her?
Don't be daft. Don't be daft.
So, welcome to the Basic Bikers YouTube channel. For you that are new, hope you enjoy this. As you can see, we have a legend to the YouTube world and the biking world, TeapotOne. So,
how you doing?
No bad, mate. Yourself?
Oh, hi. Chavanawa, as they say. Chavanawa. All good.
Good stuff. And also, we've got the usual two. We've got AyrshireVlogster Mark. How are we?
I'm good, mate. All good.
Good stuff. And Scotty Boy Nav. How are we?
All's better now. All good. No bad for a Saturday night.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So, out on the bikes recently?
Absolutely not.
I was out for a short journey, which was essential.
Bruce?
I was working. I was actually working. I've made a conscious decision to sort of not rob people because I could ride. You know, it's my job at the end of the day now, so I could ride, but I don't want to rub people's noses in it. There are people that are just not going out at all, aren't there? So I haven't ridden. And then today was like the first of the sort of pressy type things. So BMW had a bit of a day today at their headquarters. So I was out on the new RT, the 1250 RT, and the new R18 Classic, you know, their big cruiser.
Yes.
Right.
So I was out in them today. Yeah, so it was nice. It was actually. It was weird trying to riding after having a long break off and not riding again, and B, like riding as well as talking, working the cameras, riding a new bike, trying to remember how. And it's like, geez, how'd you do this? it's like you're a noob again, you know.
You go back to school again, is it?
Aye, a wee bit, you know. I can't complain, can I? You know, there's plenty of worse ways to spend a day at work. So
absolutely,
yeah, all good.
Well, all we get rain up here, as you know. So you take any day out in the bike at all, so you can.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's kind of the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning is like poke your head in the blinds just to see. You don't know if it's
how warm it. Yeah, how warm's the rain going to be today? Yeah,
pretty much what it is for us boys, anyway.
Aye, definitely.
That's
it.
So, for anybody who doesn't know who this is TeapotOne, Bruce Smart. So it is 50,000 followers on YouTube, over 100,000 followers on Facebook.
Yep.
What have you got on Instagram?
I just hit the 10,000. I've just got it. I got the swipey up thing finally.
Yes, there we go. Fantastic. So
it's taken about 8 years, but yeah, we got there eventually.
So a lot of people might not actually know that you're actually from Scotland originally.
Aye, I'm from a wee village called Mintlaw up near Peterhead, Fraserburgh, north of Aberdeen. Yep.
The accent throws people off massively, so there's a bit because we've obviously posted questions out to people, and somebody commented asking why did they move to the dark side, and the people are like, what do you mean the dark side? I moved to England. What do you mean England? He's always England. He's like, no, he's born in Scotland. So it was quite fun watching that unfold. So it was.
It's weird because everyone in Scotland, well, a lot of people in Scotland think I'm English, and everyone in England thinks I'm either drunk, Scottish, or Welsh, really, or I've had a stroke. You know, it's And then the people from my hometown, they're all like, "Why have you turned into a Ouija? Why are you a Glaswegian?" And then everyone in Glasgow is like, "You know, you're a sheepshagger, aren't you? You're definitely from up north." So.
But it's all friendly banter. That's just how the Scottish are.
Aye, absolutely.
Aye, so you're from Aberdeen, and then you came down to Glasgow, and you went to Strathclyde Uni, and you graduated with civil engineering, funnily enough.
You're a stalker. You've been digging around.
Oh, man.
There's not too much I don't know.
Is there anything I need to know about him?
Excited? But that excited?
Listen, you do, see when you've got somebody like this on, you do a wee bit of digging, don't you?
Oh, don't be daft. Sheesh.
Yeah,
that's right.
Aye,
that's right.
And then you did move to the dark side. You ended up becoming a copper, didn't you?
I did. Yeah.
We need to get the digs have to come in, don't they? the Scottish
Definitely.
Panda for the police.
Okay.
It's what it is.
I'm more interested how we got from civil engineering to cops.
Well, you actually
Wait,
before that you had your own company as well, didn't you? You did.
Wow, yeah.
This
Yeah, I
guy's
did. Yeah.
sitting on your desk.
I know.
I'm in his spare bedroom.
Right, I'm quite renowned for waffling on, so I'll do my best to be as succinct as I possibly can. I arrived in Glasgow '93, sort of autumn '93 to start uni. Very quickly, I ended up working on the doors in Glasgow. There's a nightclub called the Garage. Everyone seems to know about Sauchiehall Street. So I started working on there literally the night I turned 18. So I got a job there, and loved it. I just loved that scene. Do you know what I mean? I just enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it a little bit too much because my rugby and my uni academic side of me took a bit of a hit. So I went to uni originally to do mechanical engineering, had too good a time in my first year, so ended up either having to reset first year or change course. So I changed to civil engineering because it's so different from mechanical. And so I managed to get myself through an honours degree at Strathclyde doing civil engineering eventually. But halfway through that, I became a dad. I was still working the doors. I just really enjoyed it. But by the end of uni, I knew that I didn't want to go into a normal 9-to-5 office role. It just wasn't for me. Yep. I looked at the military, so I was contemplating going into the military, but I wanted to go in I didn't want to go in as an officer. I wanted to go in as a grunt, sort of naive really at the time when I look back, but that's what I wanted to do. They were all saying, don't be insane. You've got a degree. You've got to come in as an officer. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I put my papers in to join to Strathclyde, and Strathclyde, Old Bill were like, nah, not really interested in you. And then the Met were recruiting. Sadly, my mum had moved to London by then, but she'd been diagnosed with cancer. My relationship with my son's mum had nosedived. We'd split up. Life was pretty pants at that point, and it was just like, here's a chance for a fresh start down in London. Plus the Met were going, come, we need people, come and join us. They pay more than Strathclyde, so I was like, okay, I'll go down and see what this is all about. And that was it. 2000, I moved down to London, and I've been here ever since.
Enjoy it?
I did. I'll not get into too much of it. The old bill is a tough job. Can you swear in this podcast?
Of course you can.
It's a fucking hard job, you know. And I'm not saying we're all saints. We're not, but the old bill are just normal people like anyone else, and you deal with horrific stuff, you deal with amazing stuff, you see the best of people, you see the absolute worst of people. That goes for people, old bill, as well as, like, you know, civilian public. You see the best and worst of everybody. And to anyone that manages 30 years on the front line, whether it's old bill, fire brigade, military, nurse, doctor, paramedic, anyone that manages 30 years of that, fair play to you, because, you know, I did just shy of 20, and I've had enough now. You know, it grinds you down eventually.
I think that's, especially the Scots give the police a hard time. Anybody you speak to, they have probably the worst opinion of the police. My nephew's a copper, and I give him a stinking every time I see him. But he knows it's bad because it's my nephew, but everybody does it.
Everyone does.
No, his nephew anyway.
No. But your list in the police is phenomenal, what you're trained in. So it is.
I was 18 years in there, so yeah, I did a fair bit. I did the front line, the 9/9 response teams. I did the public order stuff, the drugs raids, dynamic entry, surveillance. I've done the chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear stuff. Yep. That's pretty cool. Then I moved to firearms division, and I was in topical at the moment, sadly, because of that vermin that just murdered that lassie. But he came into the department I used to be in, the parliamentary and diplomatic protection, and that's so we've got the bike wing there as well. So I'd done my bike course through the old bill. So yeah, it was good.
That actually came up today. Was the can we ask TeapotOne if you knew him? And I was like, oh, I'm not even going to mention it, but you've answered it, so I'm sure you knew him. That is.
Well, no, he arrived after I left, thankfully. So
right.
I've never met the chap, and it's weird because there's a lot of coppers in that department, and it's spread across 3 different bases, all across London. So I was in that department 11 years, and there's people in 11 years that I've never ever worked with. Just because they're in the same department doesn't mean to say you'll know them.
Yeah. And then in between all that, you started TeapotOne.
Aye. Mm-hmm.
So you did. So you done? Was it 3 years of campaigning to getting sponsors on board? And
yeah, I mean, I think I was a bit naive when I first started planning it all. I'd set a date which was going to be 2012 because we had the Olympics in London in 2012, and I knew there was not a chance I was going to get like a career break, a break from work before the Olympics. So it would have to be after the Olympics, and then 1st of October is my mum's birthday, and there's the whole, I don't know if you know, but there's the whole connection as to why I did the trip was a promise I made my mum before she died. So my mum's birthday 2012, that was the date I was going to do it, and my mum passed away July 2008. So I had all that time in between then really to sort of figure out what the hell I was going to do and how I was going to afford it. And I thought I would get corporate sponsorship. I thought, I was doing it for charity. I was a copper. There's the backstory. I thought, no, I should be able to. I'll be able to get some corporate sponsorship here. And as it was, companies are very keen to give you kit, but to get cash from a company is certainly then. I think it's a little bit easier these days because there's a lot more people out there who've done stuff, and companies are much more social media savvy than they were, say, back 2009, 10, 11, that sort of time. But I got a good sort of public following behind it, and I had I suppose it was before crowdfunding even came, really. Like I when I first set off, I remortgaged, and I credit carded myself up to the max, and I worked my nuts off for 3 years. So I had money to go originally, but that got me as far as Australia, I think it was. And then all my money was gone by that point. And I'd picked up a corporate sponsor by then anyway, Delta Energy. They'd come on board. But my own money had gone by the time I got to Australia. So I was, people were following, and I just sort of said, look, it's been great, but Sydney will be the end, and then I'll be coming home, and I'll figure out how to get the bike home. And by that point, people were just like, no, how can we PayPal you a tank of fuel, do something like that? So I thought, I want to write a book, I want to do a DVD. What if I pre-sell it now? You can pre-order it now. That will give me the money at the moment that I need to keep going. And then when I get back home, I'll be back at work anyway, so I'll just knock my pan in at overtime, and I can sort of recoup that money that I've spent, hopefully, to get the book and the DVD done. And that's what I did, and literally, like, crowdfunding got me from Australia home via all the Americas. Raised about $8.5 grand, $9 grand in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It was phenomenal.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, it was amazing. I owe everything to everyone that was following and supporting all through the trip. It was amazing.
It was a good watch back then. So it was very gripping. So
cheers.
I'll put my hands up and say I didn't know much about you until your man above us here, the stalker, put it up, getting TeapotOne on. But ever since then, me and my partner Penny, we've been hooked. It's been like a documentary. It should be a Netflix series. Absolutely hooked on. We've watched a series every night. It's brilliant. Just how
that's good. That's good to hear.
How you grew right through it, and how you got all the sponsors, and basically how you got to the end. It, like you say, you ran out of money in Australia, and it was dragging yourself right to the end. It was brilliant. Absolute class.
Thank you, man. Cheers.
Yeah,
I look at. Sorry, go on.
No, go.
I'm just saying, for me, like I taught myself how to edit and like filming and I taught myself on the trip. I look back and I think you're an idiot. You're a dafty. Why didn't you learn all that before you went? So you can see in the videos. I mean, I look at it and cringe because I think, oh God, you could do such a better job than that. But you know, you can see they get better as the series goes on. I hope. But
it shows you how raw it was, though. It shows you. It brings you into your perspective of what's happening a wee bit better.
I felt it's more you were there with you because you could feel what you were feeling when you were watching. See, when you did it the first time, obviously, and it didn't work out. Obviously, when you went to the Rosso border,
Mauritania,
see when you sat and you watching that, I felt drained just watching it, and it was so great. The footage was brilliant. How raw it was, as Scott says, it's brilliant.
Cheers, man. That's nice to know. Appreciate that.
So that's where it went wrong, didn't it? In the first trip, once you crossed into Mauritania, going into the Rosso border.
For anyone that doesn't know, Mauritania is in sort of northwest Africa. You've got Morocco, and then Western Sahara, and then underneath that's right on the far western edge of the Sahara Desert is a country called Mauritania, and then below that you've got Senegal with Dakar. So it's where the original Paris-Dakar used to go through. So it's quite a big country. There's two tarmac roads, one that comes right down the sort of coast edge of the desert, and the other one goes diagonal right through. So you've got one that comes down the edge and then along the bottom, and one that comes straight down like that. At the time that I entered Mauritania was right at the time when the Boko Haram, you know, the Islamic fund, like Al-Qaeda basically, but based in Central Africa. They'd kidnapped all the schoolgirls in Nigeria, and then they basically were just exploding all over Africa. Excuse me. So they were coming from Mali. They'd done Timbuktu, and they were coming from Mali into Mauritania just as I entered. So to combat that, the government flooded those two roads with Old Bill. With like literally every 100 meters, there was a checkpoint, police checkpoint. The bad part of that is that the Old Bill, you know, they saw me on, have you seen pictures of that bike? You know, it's a GSXR that's all liveried up, covered in logos. I'm in leathers, covered in logos. I just rang the dinner bell. You know, I must have looked like a millionaire, and I was far from it. So I got robbed every checkpoint, every single day. You're just getting, they would either not ask very nicely with a gun in their hand for some money, or they just pointed a gun in your face and literally just took the money. So yeah, it's just. But I mean, that I now know that is just how it is in a lot of places. You know, not just Africa. That is just how it is. They do it to the locals as well. But you know, when they see you, they're like, okay, rather than 20p, we're going to get a lot more from you. So it's just what happens. It's just life. But yeah, you mentioned Rosso. Rosso is a border. There's two borders to get out of Mauritania into Senegal. One is about 80 kilometers of off-road desert to get to it, and that's the quickest one. You just come straight down the west part of Mauritania, 80k of off-road, and then you're at this little quiet border point, and that gets you straight into Senegal. But because I was doing it on the Jigsaw, I thought I'll take the road all the way inland to this Rosso place, into Senegal there, and then back through. But Rosso sort of was also the most corrupt border in Africa. It had that reputation at that point. And I got done over by the Old Bill basically, and taken by a gang, and held for a while. They got more money out of me.
This was pretty early on in your trip as well, so that'd have put a dap on the whole thing.
I think it was 7 weeks, almost 7 weeks to the day from when I started. I was flying home, and that was, you know.
You had other travellers trying to help you, didn't they? And they either taken a beating or they were held and weren't allowed to go to cross the border.
Aye, there was a Belgian guy. I'd met up with an older South African chap he'd moved to Scotland, but he had split up from his wife, and he'd now decided, I'm going to ride back to South Africa. So he was on a Ural, a Ural sidecar outfit.
Yeah.
We sort of buddied up as we entered into Mauritania because we'd heard it was a bit tasty, and I'm glad we did. He actually saved my life. I just about died from dehydration in the desert actually, and it was him that saved my life. But we sort of buddied up and went through Rosso together. But there was a Belgian guy that saw us being taken by this gang and the police and basically being done over. And he came over to try and help. And obviously they speak French there.
Yeah.
And being Belgian, he speaks French. So he basically said to them that he'd seen what they'd done and Allah had seen what they'd done. And Allah will not be happy with how you've behaved. And basically they followed him down the stairs and gave him a kick in. And the last I saw of him was the old Bill dragging him away. And I never saw him again. So, yeah, that was pretty sobering experience. I don't know what happened to the guy. You know, I don't know. No idea.
If that's going to send you home, do you know what I mean? If anything that's going to send you back home, isn't it? Because you look so drained. So you did.
Yeah, it'd been about 10 days. You know, we'd had about, I think, 8 days, 9 days, something like that, to get through Mauritania, and I thought it would take me maybe 1.5. But I snapped my frame and all sorts. You know, so
you had a bad week.
Yeah. I did. It's weird because
that was right up there.
It was definitely. But then, you know, I would never change that because I think it solidified the resilience in me that when I got that opportunity to go again, nothing was going to stop me. They'd literally have to bring me back in a box, or I did it on the, I carried or rode that bike and I'd finish it, one or the other. So, things happen for a reason. I'm a firm believer in that.
Absolutely.
So what happened? You came back now, what was it, the November, then you went away again in the May. What happened in the 6 months that you managed to get back out there and do it again?
I got back into London. Well, when I made the decision that I was gonna terminate that first attempt and I was gonna come back, and I knew that was happening, I phoned up my old gaffer and basically said, I'm coming back, can I have my job back, please? A little bit. Because I was supposed to be away for 2 years. So I was like, any chance I could start on Monday? I'll be home Saturday. Can I start on Monday? So thankfully they were good as gold. And yeah, so I pretty much did that. I think I got back on a Thursday or a Friday, and I was literally back on post on like the 1st or 2nd of December. It was about -11, and I'm standing at Downing Street, I'm shivering my nuts off. It was 40 odd degrees crossing the Sahara like the week before, and now it's like -11. I was like, oh my God, what have I done? But yeah, basically I went back to work and just put my head down trying to work. I felt a total failure, embarrassed, all that sort of stuff. Obviously getting a lot of friendly piss taking off of my muckers. But in my head, I thought this can't be it. It can't be over. But I had no idea how I was going to afford to do it because everything I'd raised, I just lost. All my money had gone. I'd remortgaged everything. I'd sold everything I owned to do that trip. So, I had nothing left to sell really. So I was like, shit, what am I going to do? And I happened to be at the NEC bike show with Bridgestone, because Bridgestone were supplying some of the tires supposed to be for the trip. And while I was on the stand, a guy came up and he basically said, look, I've been following your trip. What are you going to do now? So I basically said to him, I've just got to figure out, might take me another 3, 4, 5 years, but I'll just save, get the money together, and as soon as I can, I'll go. And he said, oh, well, my name's Martin McDonald. I'm the UK director of this company, Delta Energy Services. We were going to offer you a sponsorship, and then obviously the trip finished. So can we talk? Would you be interested in us talking? So I was like, yes, definitely. I took his email and thought, I need to have a chat with the missus about this, because she knows now think she's buying curtains for a new house, thinking we're going to go down that route, and I now have this possible outer in my back pocket. So I left it a little while, and then into the new year again, I was at work. It was freezing cold, middle of the night, and I just thought, what am I doing? So I emailed him, and he replied straight away and said, I'm in Houston at the moment, opening the Houston office. I'm with the actual owner of the company. He's pissed. I've put it to him, and he wants to chat. So we arranged a meeting. Had the meeting. They put a deal on the table. and that allowed me to go. So,
Perfect.
well, it was basically half of what I needed to get going again, and they put that on the table, and that was it. I had the discussion with my missus, and that was it. I was off. I left again in May. My missus is good as gold. Honestly, she is. God knows, she's got the patience of a saint. She puts up with me, but she's pretty special. Yeah, so she knew I had to do it. So
I don't doubt it. Every time we've sat down to watch an episode, and my missus is sitting to the left-hand side, she's like, not a chance.
There's so many geezers have messaged me going, how did you get your missus let you do that?
Because you were away for like 400 days, maybe more, wasn't it?
Aye, what was it? I should know this. 440 odd days I was away for. Yeah.
And you're not sure about, just ask Chris, he probably knows it.
For what I know, it's 442, right?
442. That sounds right. Yeah. Well, my missus came and met me. She met me twice. You know, she met me. Funnily enough, she wanted to meet me in Thailand. Don't know why, but she wanted to meet me in Thailand. And then she came and met me in the States when I got to New York. We've got friends in New York and in Boston. My wife used to live up in Boston, so we met over there and had sort of like, I think 10 days, 2 weeks together. I popped the question as well when we were there, so you know that was nice. That was done. And then she met me at the TT as well. So on the way home, I timed it for the TT. So.
And to be fair, you did upset my missus a wee bit.
What's that?
You did upset my missus a wee bit.
Oh, why?
You put milk in before the hot water in your cup of tea.
Honest, that stirs up so much shit. Have you tried it? Have you done it?
I don't drink tea, so I'll need to run it past her, see what she thinks.
If you drink tea, just try that. You just need a tiny dribble of milk first before you put the water in. Brilliant. Honestly, best brew you'll have.
She paused it. When you done that, she paused it. And then she said, really?
For other things to pick up in.
I know.
It was actually two things. It was actually the milk and the tea and what mileage was on the bike when it finished. But I obviously caught that in the last video.
Right.
So, but the tea was she wanted me to bring the tea up.
Try it. Just try it. That's all I'm going to say. Just try.
We'll have a go.
It must be a cheaper thing.
Oh, before we carry on.
Well, she's a jaunty.
What's everybody drinking, by the way? Because we haven't done that yet. Everybody's got a drink?
We're getting carried away.
I know.
Budweiser, what you got, Bruce?
It's a Czech beer. There's a chap called David, False Neutral's his channel, and he sent me a crate full of Czech beers. So this is some sort of Budweiser Budvar Czech lager.
All right.
It's nice. It's good.
I'm Amstel.
Amstel, and I'm in the vodka as usual because I don't drink beer, not very often. Vodka and iron brew, Bruce.
Very nice. Like it. Bit of ginger. What do you think? Is the ginger the same or is it not?
No, it's different.
No,
it's not the same, is it? Yeah.
Do you even get it in England?
Believe it or not, honestly, believe it or not, Iron Brew seems to be. I won't go as far to say it's popular, but the sort of the Afro Caribbeans, that sort of community and like African community as well. So majority South London, you know, Peckham, Brixton, Lambeth, around those places. They've got Iron Brew. Well, I think it's everywhere now, but certainly when I first came to London and started working sort of 2002, 2003, you could only really get it in those news agents around those areas. Yeah.
Aye.
Iron Brew square sausage.
Square sausage.
Square sausage.
Yeah.
Red or brown sauce, though?
Oof.
Brown.
That's a serious question.
No, that's brown. It's brown for me as well.
Aye.
So see, when you done your second trip, where did you start from for the second time?
Both times I started at the Cenotaph in London, just because you know I worked Downing Street, plus one of my charities was the British Legion. But the second time, I'd been put in touch with the Fireblade forum. I think it was a CBR 1000 forum. Some of those lads were following the trip on the first attempt, and they said, look, we're doing this round Scotland run, you know, on these dates, which just so happened to be the week I was leaving again on the second attempt. So I buddied up with them, and I did sort of the Scotland run with them, and they weren't going to John O'Groats, but I thought, well, you know, you've got to go to John O'Groats when you're up here, aren't you? So I'd said to a couple of my mates that were on this trip, you've got to do the Inverness to John O'Groats run, because that is, it's phenomenal. You know, it's like we did it in about an hour and 10, hour and 15 minutes. It was stunning. But anyway, so once we'd done that and done Scotland, I thought, well, I've got to go to Land's End now. You can't go to John O'Groats and not do Land's End. So once I left the Fireblade lads in Scotland, I fired down, did Land's End, back across to Dover, and then into Europe and up into Scandinavia.
There you go.
And went from there, yeah. Just kept going east.
That's it, isn't it?
Why did we pick a Gixxer?
By the way, there's a question, mate, to just pop it up. So Gordon gets his name up. Gordon, what made you pick the Gixxer Thou?
How you doing, Gordon? I'd always ridden Gixxers. You know, that I was quite late to bikes. I didn't pass my test till 2008 after I basically had made the promise with my mom I was going to do it. So I had to do my direct access. But that whole time when I'd been wanting to get a bike, the old blue and white Gixxer was the poster bike. You know, that was the one I wanted. So as soon as I passed my test, I bought a GSXR 600. I bought the black one. So I had that, and then, you know, when you've had the 600 and when you're 20 stone, 6'3", it's like, well, I need a bit more here. So 150 mile an hour is not quick enough. So it was like, we'll go for the 1000. So I bought the Thou, and I just loved them. You know, I just absolutely loved the Gixxer Thous. So for me, it was, I knew Jacques Lucassen, Dutch guy, had done it around the world on an R1. And Nick Sanders had done it on Fireblades, R1s, Triumphs. He'd done it on a couple of sports bikes. So I just thought, well, if you can do it, I can do it. So I'll take the Gixxer. And I owned that bike. So it was all right, I'll take it. I'm saying I owned it. I had it on the tick. I had to pay that off before I
Did you your first attempt, your second attempt? Obviously, when you did your first attempt, you came back. Was there ever a thing in your head thinking, I'm going to swap the bike and get something different? Never. Not even after the subframe broke?
No. I mean, the subframe broke 4 times. I went through 3 subframes. But that was just, it was, for me, I'm quite a stubborn bugger. So the more people that said to me, you can't or you'll never do it on that bike, it did me a favor, because it just made me more resolute. Okay, I'm going to do this. Like Suzuki, the guy at Suzuki, even the PR guy at Suzuki laughed in my face when I sort of confronted him, because I've been hounding him for years. Like, I'm doing this trip. I've got the bike. Could you just give me a little, a hand with the servicing, that sort of stuff? And he never ever got back to me. And then I found him at an event and went up to him and said, look, here's me. There's the bike. I'm leaving in, like, I think it was 2 months' time, 3 months' time. I just want you to know that I'm not a bullshitter. I am doing it, and I would still really appreciate your help. And he just sort of laughed in my face, and he said, you'll never do it because the bike won't make it, and more importantly, you won't make it. I was just like, what? What's the point of that?
Well,
so
thanks, mate.
that was sort of the end of my relationship with Suzuki, to be perfectly honest. Well, I'm trying to, I don't know if he's still there or if he's not, but there's a new PR guy there now, and we're slowly beginning to build bridges, so we'll see what happens.
Good.
We've got what? When you go. I'm just going to move to the next question. You want to follow on?
Just because Bruce has mentioned the subframe on it. So, so that, I know you packed it to the heavens on the Gixxer. Do you think it's just a weakness to it? Because obviously you went through 3, but obviously it was the same part all the time. Do you think it was just the weight that you put onto it, or do you think it's just a weakness to Suzuki?
Do you know, I mean, the bike, I did have a ridiculous amount of kit, but it still only weighed, I would say, at its absolute heaviest, probably, certainly no more than 60k, maybe 50, 55k, possibly, when I first left. Well, you know, that subframe's supposed to take a pillion. So you're telling me you can't have anyone more than like 9.5, 10 stone on your back seat? Well, that's bollocks.
Yeah, for in the winter time.
So, exactly. I mean, it's a different kind of weight, isn't it? Because it's just a dead weight when it's luggage. But that I think I do think it wasn't too much weight. When it snapped the first time was going through. I'm going to say going through the Sahara, but I was on a road. I was on a tarmac road. But the thing was that there was like a crest in the road, and I was sitting sort of 80, 90 mile an hour. And this crest, on the other side of the crest, there was no road. Like it was subsidence or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's subsidence. I don't know if it was a bomb crater. I haven't got a clue. But basically, on the other side of this crest was like a 2-3 foot drop before the tarmac. You know, so it's just dropped away. So I've crested it, obviously going too quick to stop, and Dukes of Hazzard it off this thing. And when I landed, stayed on the bike, but as soon as I landed, the subframe snapped. And then every single time after that, even with fresh new subframes, it would always snap at exactly the same point. The two, you know, on the subframes at that point, they were like 2 very thin extruded lugs, bolt holes on each side, and they were they'd been machined away, so they weren't solid. It was about 1 mil thick, 2 mil thick, maybe, you know, to save weight. Yeah. But it was a definite weak point because it snapped there every single time. But I think what maybe happened was maybe in the shock mount or something else. They might have twisted the frame or something. Something else might have happened in that impact on the other side that just exasperated the whole thing, and it just kept snapping at the same place. And eventually, I got like a stunt company over in, I think it was here in Kent. A pal of mine, kept. He had the foresight to keep one of my original subframes that had snapped, and he said, "Look, leave that with me, and if you have any more problems, I'll at least have like a template to maybe get you something built." So when it went the second or third or fourth time, my mate Jimbo had said, "Right, look, I found this stunt place. He says he will custom build you a solid aluminium subframe, and we'll use that. You just have to pay for the cost of the parts." So that's what I did, and he shipped that out to me. Luckily, I'd crashed again in Japan, so I was staying with the family for 2 or 3 weeks, and he sent that to me in Japan. I fitted it to the bike, and that's still on it now. You know, that sorted everything. And that was just solid aluminium.
Because that crash was the first time you actually led in Japan, wasn't it? The guy let you go first, and you front-ended it.
You know, see when I watched that, and he said, we're going to get a wee bit loose. I think you said something just before it happened, and I put my hands on my head, and Penny said,
"You know what's coming."
Oh, he's going to come off. He's going to come off.
What an idiot! Eh? What an idiot!
See, did the subframe snap when you came off then, or was it just the forks?
It's pretty much everything on the bike apart from the subframe, I think. Yeah, I smashed the forks up. I smashed the front wheel up, and that was it. To be honest, that was the only mechanical thing, was the forks. Yeah, the forks and the front wheel, they'd gone. So the rest of it was just plastics. So, you know, we basically just plastic welded and used cable ties to stitch all the fairings back together, and they're still on it now. And then I managed to pick up a second-hand set of forks on Japanese eBay, and got a wheel. Where did we get? We got a wheel from somewhere. You would think getting jigsaw parts in Japan would be easy, but my luck, I timed it for when they were on their like national holiday. You know, like Italy and places, they all shut down for 2 weeks. Well, that happened to be the 2 weeks that I'd crashed. So, that was fun. But we got it sorted.
It was an Australian guy in Japan that saved your bacon, wasn't it? A guy, Pete?
Pete, yeah. Great geezer. Great geezer, yeah. That's what I loved about that trip. It really reaffirmed my faith in people. I touched on it earlier about the old bill. You know, the old bill's it's a tough job, and you stop trusting people, especially like people you don't know. You just don't trust, and because everyone lies to you. Everybody, your mum will lie to the old bill if she thinks she's got something to hide. Everyone does, you know. It's just it's human nature. So, but it does take a toll on you, and I just didn't really have too high an opinion of people, to be perfectly honest, when I left, and it was so nice to realize that most people are brand new. You know, most people are exactly the same, whatever religion, whatever color, whatever country you come from, whatever language you speak. Most people are exactly the same as me and you. They just look after their families. They'll help if they can help. You know, it's just people are the same.
Except in Rosso, because they didn't even want to sell you food or water.
No, yeah, that was weird, man. That really was weird. Really weird. That was a night and day thing. That just happened between borders. That was just a it was. And Senegal wasn't like that. Like when they got into Senegal was raw, because I remember getting into Dakar and there's people lying like dead and dying at the side of the road just because they're starving to death and stuff. But then you've got other people that are just walking to work. They're just, working in an office. So they just step over people enough. But the people that you meet in the shops and stuff are really nice and really friendly. And, but in Mauritania, I just didn't see any of that. It was really weird. I had people throwing their shoes at me and spitting and, it was weird. I don't know why.
We need to do a bit of digging for Rosso here.
Well, apparently Rosso is now the preferred border to cross at, because that quiet one I was telling you about, everyone started going to that one because Rosso got so bad. So all the shitbags from Rosso cottoned onto that and they went to the quiet one. So apparently, yeah. No, my luck, if I ever go back, I'll go to Rosso and they'll come back again. So.
You can go and dig yourself. I'll wait here.
The only good thing is you won't recognise you now with the beard.
Yeah, that's it.
I know. I wouldn't fit in my leathers anyway. I don't think I'd get on a Jigsaw anymore.
I don't think you're putting our leathers after lockdown.
I know.
I know. It's going to be a tight fit, isn't it?
Snug.
I'll move on to another question, which Anna, Finlay, would you do it again? That's regarding your trip around the world.
100%, Anna. Aye. That's more so now than before. When I first came back, I kept getting asked that all the time, and I would say probably up until the last year or two, I'd have said, "Well, I've done it, so why? I've got nothing else to prove." But I've definitely got itchy feet. I think maybe being in lockdown for the last year or so has exasperated that. But I would love to be in a position to do it again. I'm married now, so things are a little bit different there. My missus put her life on hold whilst I went and did it, so I wouldn't be able to just bugger off for a year and a half. But I think I could maybe stretch 3 or 4 months of time.
Or
like
you don't take any kit and you take a pillion.
No. I love meeting people when I'm out on a bike. I love meeting up with folk and socialising. I love all that. But I wouldn't want to travel. I don't think I would want to travel permanently with somebody else or in a big group. I do tours, and a week is long enough,
Yeah. I
take people away for a week, and after a week of being surrounded by people, even the nicest people on the planet, after a week, I'm just like, I need space. I need my own time now, So. Yeah.
Is there any part of the trip that you wish you had done that you didn't do?
Mongolia.
Oh, really?
I'd love to go there and experience the place. I'd love to go to Nepal. I really want to do India on the bike as well.
Yeah.
There's loads. There's so many. Most of Africa. I didn't do most of Africa. I'd love to go back. the Middle East, all the stands. I didn't do the stands. Sounds like I never went anywhere, does it? But
I know.
But you know, they're all the for me, they're the proper overland places, you know, and I miss them, and I'd like to go and tick them all off.
So do it again, but do a different route.
I don't know if I would do. I would love to do an around the world again, but I don't have the money, and I don't have the time. You know, in fact, we're just very soon we're adopting a little rescue puppy, and you know, I don't want to bugger off for long periods of time. You know, as I said, I'm married, and I do. But contrary to what people might think, I do actually love my missus, and you know, I do like spending time with her. So the thought of being away for a year and a half or longer, just in my book now at the moment. I'm not saying it'll never happen. It might happen. You know, God knows what might happen in the future, and I might end up just deciding I'm going to hit the road. I don't know. But for me, in my head, it's more like bite-sized chunks. So if I can go and do, you know, 2 weeks here or 3 or 4 months doing something, just little. 3 or 4 months is a long time, but it's not a year and a half, is it? So
yeah.
More chance of swinging that round the missus. So we'll see.
How long would it take you to do the stands then? What would you need for that? To do
bollocks, big bollocks. I think. Well, do you know you can do it? And also, I had that Polish lassie, Roxy, round the world, Roxy.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, how that lassie hasn't got more exposure? I mean, her videos they're raw. I know they're raw, but you look at, you know, you've got oh god, what's she called? The other lassie that's doing the round the world trip. Oh, what's she called? Itchy Boots.
Itchy Boots, yeah.
So Itchy Boots gets hundreds of thousands of views. Her videos are good quality. I appreciate that. But then I look at what Roxy's doing. She's doing it on like a 1990 odd Fireblade, and the places she's been to, and you think it's almost criminal that she's not getting the exposure that other people get. You know.
Yeah.
But well, that's just my 10 pence.
In our area, we get to see her a few times. I've seen her a few times up at Largs and stuff like that in the Ayrshire area. Chris knows her quite well.
Yeah.
So we do get to see her.
Salt of the earth as well. You go
absolutely.
And you could name a random place in that last you've either been to it or going to it.
She lives and breathes bikes, doesn't she? You know,
100%.
Every waking moment she seems to be on a bike.
I think at one point she had 3 blades. She had like 2,900, and then she bought 1,000.
She's a really nice person. Yeah,
it seems to be. So I think for the stands, geez, it all depends how you do it. It all depends, you know, what time of year you do it. It depends what bike you do it on, and what you want from that trip. You know, if you just want to ride to the stands, say you've done the stands and then get home, I don't know. I'm assuming you could probably do something like that in 6 weeks or so, maybe 6 or 8 weeks. You know, just motorway it as far as you possibly can to get there, get onto the stands, do the stands adventure bit, back onto the motorways and motorway at home. You could do that if that's what you wanted to do. But I don't know. There's a thing called the Mongol Rally. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
So with that, you either do it on a 125cc or under bike. So a bike of any description of 125cc or below. The cheaper and shittier, the better. Or I think it has to be a car below 1 litre.
1 litre. Yep.
Yeah. And they give you a start point somewhere in Europe, and they give you an end point generally somewhere in Russia. And there's not even I think there's the maximum length of time that they'll give you, something like 10 weeks or something. And you just have to go and do it. You've got to self-navigate, and you can, I think it started in Paris or something one year and finished in, is it Ulan-Ude in Russia? So you could do the stands, and you could do Mongolia and everything, Kazakhstan as well if you wanted on that trip, if you wanted to do that. So that's sort of lit a bit of a fire with me. I thought that sounds a bit of a giggle. But again, it is. But again, it's money and it's time in it. So and all the grief with the visas as well, and obviously COVID's kicked everything in the bollocks at the moment, isn't it? So
absolutely.
That's what I was going to ask. You had a lot of problems with visa. Some countries you went in and it was no problem. Other countries you were there for hours and hours. Like Japan, you were there for ages waiting. They were very thorough, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the different levels of bureaucracy, really, to be honest with you. And you just have to accept that borders generally, it depends. It depends on what country you're leaving, what country you're entering. Depends on the political climate at that time. It depends on the people that you're dealing with. Is it the start of the shift, the end of the shift? Are they having a good day? Are they having a bad day? Do they like Westerners? Do they not like Westerners? It's just one of those. Sometimes a border can take you half an hour and you're through. And other times you're there 24 hours or 48 hours. It just depends. So you kind of, once you've been doing it a while, you just learn to accept that, okay, let's not take this for granted. No. However long it takes is how long it takes.
What was your longest border sitting at?
Probably the one that kidnapped him.
Do you know what? Well, I wasn't. I think I was only there about 5 hours, 6 hours. I'm saying only, but you know, it wasn't like I was there weeks or anything. God, I don't know. That's a good question. I think Japan might have been one of the trickiest ones, purely because it was so bureaucratic.
Yeah.
You know, it was just. I was definitely going to get in, but it's just one of these places where that person behind the counter checks it, then their boss comes and checks it, then their boss's boss checks it. I mean, I remember when I was handing over the money, just a fee, you know, perfectly legitimate thing, transaction, I had to pay. But they do all that on a calculator, then they write it down to check, to make sure that they're giving you the right change comes back. And then like 3 bosses down the line comes along and he literally got an abacus out and he worked it out on the abacus just to double check the calculator and the sums. That's just the Japanese way. You know, the Japanese are just incredibly thorough. And if a box needs to be ticked, nothing is happening until that box has been ticked. It's just that way.
It's crazy.
You went into a wee bit of sightseeing, didn't you? And then came back and you still weren't ready.
Do you know, I need to watch it again. I'm trying to remember. Yeah. I think, was that the insurance? Was that insurance or something? Yeah. They basically said, just go away and come back. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, because I met up with there was a German guy, wasn't there? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
An older German guy who didn't speak any English at all.
That's right.
Yeah, and obviously the Japanese chaps didn't speak any German. He didn't speak any Japanese. He didn't speak any English. So it was just like, oh, this is going to be fun. But he got through. He got in eventually.
Right, you ready for another question?
Aye, fire on.
Be Claire, I already know the answer to this, but here we go. Claire, one country to ride, what would you recommend to everyone? And you're probably launching the videos just now.
Oh, right, not from a trip. Yeah. I mean, Canary, I love Spain. Spain for me has everything I personally want from a road, you know, for riding. I love the mountain.
We know a guy.
Here we go.
Go on.
Yeah, Jim, if you're watching, you better make some space. We're
Oh, does he live over there, does he?
Yeah. He invited us over in a live stream when he messaged us, said, can I come on your live stream? I want to come on a live stream with you. We're like, am I all right? Where are you? He says, I'm Spain. And we're like, aye, this might be beneficial. So we got him on. We've done the live stream. At the end of the live stream, he's got a big area where he says you can put your bikes in, you can kip here. He's got a big bar in the other end of it. And he says, I come over. And then at the end of it, he says, by the way, my missus came downstairs and said, there's no way they 3 are staying here.
So when you going?
Next year, hopefully.
As soon as we get the chance, as soon as we get the chance.
Whereabouts in Spain is he?
Oh, where did they say?
He's just near Santander, I'm sure.
Aye.
All right. Aye, up in the north. So you'll be near the Picos and stuff. Yeah. Aye. So I love Spain. It's the old Bill don't care as long as you don't take the piss in the towns and the villages. Save it for the open road up in the mountains. They don't care. The roads are absolutely stunning. The weather generally is really good. The sights, the views are just out of this world in places. But then you go to the Canaries and it's like everything Spain's got condensed. Like Gran Canaria is the biggest island, and I think it's 30 mile or 35 mile in diameter.
Yeah.
But they've got over 3,500 kilometers of road in that one island, and it's stunning. I mean, if you watch a vids, you'll see that. I don't think I've been anywhere on the planet where you can ride that quality of road all day, every day, and just never get bored. It's just non-stop. It's phenomenal.
The views look brilliant, so it does.
Aye.
On one tiny wee...
When you go.
I just say on one tiny wee island, you know, up in the north, they have like bona fide proper rainforests. In the middle, it's like the Grand Canyon. You know, it's just rugged and rocky. There's desert. There's all sorts. And then you've got all the coast roads as well. You've seen that latest vid I've done down the west-hand side. They have I can't remember what they call it. It's the GC200 is the road. I think it's called the Atlantic Coast Road or something. And it's just phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. It's a wee bit of roadworks at the moment, but it's stunning. Stunning road.
And you love the African twin when you're doing it.
Aye.
I mean, I get a load of people saying, "Oh, is that you? Have you cheated on it? Then are you not with the GS anymore?" I'd still take the GS. I would have most of the other adventure bikes over the Africa Twin, but on those Canary roads, that Africa Twin was phenomenal because it's got just enough grunt to give a load of fun. The engine is beautiful. That growl is just phenomenal. You know, beautiful big twin. But if you put that if you were to go to mainland Spain, like in the Picos, the Africa Twin will get peed all over by most of the other big adventure bikes because it's not got, you know, it'll get you to sort of 80, 90 mile an hour. It'll get you there, but the other ones will just steam by that. They've got so much more sort of middle and top end, you know, and when you get onto mainland Spain, the roads are a bit longer. You've got a little bit longer on the accelerator. The Canaries is just second, third gear, on, off, you know, it's tight, twisty, nudgery. It's great fun. But you would certainly, I've had mates come away to mainland Spain with Africa Twins and, you know, they've sold them as soon as they've got home.
I used to always take the piss out of adventure bikes. Like, you never find me on an adventure bike, this adventure. But then I had a shorty idea. When I did my ROSPA, my tutor had a GS and I was slating for it.
Aye.
I did. And they gave me a shot. I actually changed my opinion of them. I wouldn't have one, but it changed my opinion of them. I loved it. He had the camera front, back. I was sitting there watching the guy behind me and the guy in front. I loved it. Brilliant.
Yeah. They make riding effortless. They make it so easy. And I think to be honest, that's probably one of the biggest downfalls of the GS is that you either get on it and you love it or you get on it and think, it's just a bit beige, you know, it's a bit bland because it's not as raw as like the KTM or the Ducati or if you like an inline 4 engine where it's screaming its nuts off all the time. The GS isn't like that. It just does it. It's just, you know, it's almost effortless. Well, yeah, it's still a tractor. It's still agricultural, but you know, it's just easy. It's just too easy. It's too easy on a bike, really, to ride. Aye.
And while we're talking about adventure, Big Scott's got a soft spot for the Triumph, haven't you?
Tiger. I'm quite
Which one?
Just now, obviously. Picture shows that. But my next bike, I think, Triumph Tiger is going to be it. But I'm 6'4". I'm nearly 60 stone, counting my Christmas weight. But, Triumph Tiger is going to be. I'll be test riding that first, I think.
I had one. I owned one, and it's good, but for me, it leaves me a bit flat. It's not as it's top heavy. You'll find it really quite top heavy compared to if you take out the KTM, like the KTM Super Adventure, take that out, take out the Ducati Multistrada, take out a GS, the 1250, take out the Triumph 1200, take the Africa Twin if you like. But I personally, and just about everyone else I know, the Triumph will come below certainly the Ducati, the KTMs, and the Beamer. It's not as flickable. It's good, and if you travel with a pillion, it's lovely. It's really smooth. It's deceptively.
Because I like to take my partner out for a coffee. Plus, my boy, he's 16. He likes to come with me.
Gotcha.
That what swayed my idea towards the Triumph Tiger, and obviously cost effective as well.
The triple engine on the Triumph is really smooth. It's really nice, and it's all, for me. It was to its detriment because it was, like I was saying about the GS, is almost too smooth, too good. Well, that's definitely a case with the Triumph because it just doesn't feel like you're doing anything. You don't feel like you're going quick, and to me, I was just like, oh, this is slow compared to like the other three. But when you look at the figures, it's not actually that much below it. It'll never beat them, but it's not miles behind. You know what I mean? But I think, if you've got a pillion, the Triumph is probably certainly a good choice. Much smoother.
I'll definitely be first on the list for test rides.
Try the KTM, man. Take the Super Adventure.
I actually seen somebody going out a test ride that today on YouTube, and it's got a quite tasty front end. That's very nice to look at. Aye,
and it's got a habit of sort of, it gets a shake on if you put the wrong. If they used to put them out with these sort of 70-30 or 60-40 off-road road tires, and when you got to some exciting speeds under some power, the front, you could start to get I had a full-on tank slapper on it at about 110 mile an hour. Myself. Honestly, I came off this roundabout in a beautiful, lovely sweeping left-hander, whacked on the throttle because there were a whole load of high-vis guys in a convoy, and I thought, I've got to overtake you. So, and as I got to the front, I went in a tank slapper, and I thought, I'm going to crash in front of this lot. I'll never live it down. And thankfully, it came back in. But and apparently that's tires. A pal of mine has bought one, and he put straight road tires, sport touring tires on it, and he's never had an issue. And he rides it way quicker than I ever would. Yeah, but it's a beautiful engine. Hooligan.
Good. We like that. Next question I've got from Scott. Now, this is a Scottish question. Don't take any offence to it. Did you sort out the grass you shopped, Jen, for misconduct?
No. I get asked that a lot, and I'm pretty confident that if I wanted to find out, and I've been in the job long enough and know enough people that I could sort that out, but I don't want to know.
Karma.
Aye, I'm a firm believer in karma, but I just don't want to know. There's a few things have come to light that I'm not going to get into, but they've basically pointed to the fact that whoever this is knows or follows me, but they also know a couple of other people who I also know. And if they know those people, they must have worked in similar places that it starts narrowing things down. And I don't want to go around looking, I don't want to be in that frame of mind where I'm looking at people who I know or maybe thought I were my mates and thinking, was it you? Did you do it? So I don't even worry about it. They've done me a favor at the end of the day because I'm living my dream at the moment, I've got a pot to piss in, but I'm living my dream. I ride motorbikes and make videos for a living, so happy days.
And it kind of leads in.
Cheers for it.
It leads into the next question for Grant Williamson. Thinking of leaving a secure job to go and, so to speak, to rely on YouTube for income. You've kind of touched on that. How much time did it take you to think it over, leaving and doing what you're doing now?
I'll be absolutely brutally frank with you. I don't make a living off of YouTube. I make more now off of AdSense than I did before, but I'm still only making about, on a good month, I might make 400 quid off of AdSense on a good month. I know other people that make in the bike world who make considerably more than that, but I don't get the views that facilitate, a big income off of ad revenue. I make my income off of tours, merchandise sales, affiliate sales, Patreon. Patreon's a massive thing for me, so huge thanks to anyone out there that's following on Patreon. What else? You know, you basically have to have multiple income streams to. Hello there, how you doing?
She just popped under the green screen.
Yeah. How are you? Yeah, so if you're gonna leave a secure job, you've got to have plenty of strings to your bow. Don't rely on just YouTube, because at any moment in time, YouTube can cut you off, or YouTube can, you know, it happened to Chase on Two Wheels, you know, the American motovlogger. Over 1 million subs, and YouTube just took his channel down and left him stranded for 3 or 4 weeks. You know, you've got to have an idea as to what income that bloke lost in that time. It's phenomenal, you know. And he's got 7 or 8 guys counting on him. Never mind his missus in his house. He's got 7 or 8 guys with families that count on him, you know. So you cannot count on any one thing. As it is, you know, I've got channel sponsors. I've lost a couple of sponsors through COVID. Don't know if they'll come back. Patreon, I've lost a load of people on Patreon because, you know, money's tight for everybody, isn't it? So people just cut back everywhere. People aren't buying as much merch because money's tight at the moment. So, you know, even with 6, 7 different areas, income streams coming in, you know, money's tight. No hide it, money's real tight. I might not be able to just stay full time. I might have to go and get a part-time job, or, you know, heaven forbid, actually a proper job. I might have to do it. So I wouldn't recommend you jump. Put a lot of time into it and do your sums. Absolutely. And make your sums realistic, you know. Don't think, well, I'll make £1,000 a week off of YouTube. That's easy. I can do that. You know, unless you're getting massive, unless you're getting massive viewing figures, that ain't gonna happen. So just be really realistic, Grant, on your budgets. You know, just err on the side of caution. If you think you're gonna make X, then I would say in your budget, half X or quarter X, you know, give yourself a lot of leeway now more than ever, because, you know, God forbid, what if something else happens in 6 months' time and we go through another lockdown? Can you imagine how bad the economy is going to be then? So you just got to prepare. I think it's, you know, at the end of the day, if you're in a job that you hate and you're not enjoying it, then by all means, find something that makes you happy, definitely. But everyone's got bills to pay, everyone's got mortgages, haven't they? And you know, you kind of have to be a bit realistic about things.
Definitely. Do you think you could still put the same sort of time in that you put in just now if you did have a job?
No. I've never worked so hard as I'm saying hard. You know, This is not always me, because I love it. I absolutely love it. But I spend, I looked at my screen time the other day on my phone, and it's showing 18 hours. 18 hours a day I'm on my phone. And that's answering comments, messages, sharing stuff, you know, just engaging with people. Because whilst I'm editing, you're constantly on the phone, aren't you? So you know, I'm editing 7 days a week, 18 hours a day, and it's to produce 2 videos a week.
Was it a hard choice then, leaving the police to pursue YouTube, or was it pretty straightforward for you?
I'll be honest, I had never thought I would do this full time. I never thought that would happen. Lots of people at work and stuff were like, "Oh man, yeah, that would be awesome if you went that." I just thought, don't be daft. I was on a good wage in my old job because I did a lot of overtime. You know, I basically worked 7 days a week, so I could make a good income. And I thought, I'm never ever going to make that doing this.
Yeah.
But then, you know, when that happened at work, and you know, I ended up having my firearms ticket taken and basically put on desk duty and told it could be 2 years. And it was plainly that it was just a vendetta with who was in charge of that investigation at the time. This inspector just didn't like me. I don't know why. I'd never met the woman before in my life, but she made it plain she didn't like me and she was going to throw the book at me. And I just thought, I think I've had enough. I think I'm done in this job. And my wife actually just said to me, she said, well, look, what would it take for you to, you know, how much would you actually have? Never mind the overtime. How much would you need to make in order to to just survive, to be able to survive. So I did some sums and thought, okay, I can see if I'll put the feelers out in the industry and let it be known that I'm thinking of jumping, and would anyone be out there willing to back me for a year and see how we go. And I was gobsmacked that there were a couple of companies out there that said, yeah, we'll sponsor the channel. So straight away, that was a couple £100 a month that I wasn't expecting. And it was like, oh, all right, okay, so what else do we need to do? And in the space of probably less than 6 months, I managed to get a little plan together and put things in place, put the feelers out, did a little budget forecast, and thought it'd be tight, but I could probably go for this. If I've got to get a part-time job, I'll get a part-time job. So yeah, I made the jump, said I was leaving, and picked up a couple more sponsors, and it was like, oh, I can actually cover my half of the mortgage here. So we went from there, and then I don't know, I'd saved a little bit up before I left the old bill, so I've managed to survive on that and what I'm earning at the moment. But certainly getting towards the stage where I'm like, okay, you need to take it up a gear now, or go and get that job.
It's like I've realised YouTube's paying me. Oh no, I can't do it.
It's weird though, because my channel was doing really well. All the analytics were great. It was just increasing, slow, but it was increasing. And then the start of this year, I'm pretty sure, I know it was the podcast, but the podcast vids just hammered the channel because the algorithm just didn't know what to do with the really long 3-hour podcast vids, or 2 3-hour long podcast vids. The fact you don't get many views on them, I'd maybe only get 1,000, 2,000 views. And then out of those people that viewed it, there's probably only 10 to 15% of people will watch it for any length of time. Yeah. But so they're still watching for maybe half an hour, 40 minutes, which is insane for YouTube. Because normally it's like 2 minutes, 3 minutes viewer retention. Well, I'm getting 30, 40 minutes on the podcast vids, which is awesome. But it's still, as a percentage of that whole video, your viewer retention's tiny. So the algorithm still looks at it and goes, not many people watch this. When they do watch, they don't watch much of it. And, out of, say, 10 people that click on this vid, 9 of them will click off before 3% of the videos played. So then you've got them, and then you've got my other vids, my bike vids, that would get good views, good viewer retention, good engagement. But between the two, the algorithm didn't know what to do. So it basically started going, people don't like this channel, so it stops putting you out there. So yeah, that's why I've started the new podcast only channel. Yeah. And already I can see the analytics start to go up again. So, but it's just, you've taken 4 steps back now. You've got to try and bring it back up. Yeah. It's a game, it's just a game.
Do you think if you had to go back to the place you could? Do you think that's just done with?
I think I could get back. Well, I think they would take me back in. Well, I know they would take me back in, but I've already been told, because I did inquire when COVID hit. I lost a couple of sponsors within a week of COVID hitting. And obviously I shit myself thinking, fuck, I've got a mortgage to pay. So I made inquiries with my old boss, and he basically said, look, we'll have you back in a heartbeat, but DPS, Director of Professional Standards, they will put you under investigation. So as soon as you come back, you'll just be exactly where you are, and you'll still be under investigation. And nah. No, I'm not playing the game anymore. I'm done.
Worst case scenario, ever go back though? If you really had to, or just nah?
You would need to gear up the channel, wouldn't you? You'd need to give this up.
Yeah, I would. That was, sorry, I missed all that out, didn't I? That was basically what they said. If you stay in the old bill, then you have to cease all social media activity. So it wouldn't matter if I changed the name from TeapotOne to Timbuktu. It didn't matter. I had to stop all social media activity. And I just thought, I put too much into this. It's taken me too long to grow it to where it is. And I get way more out of, interacting with people, doing all this sort of stuff. For me, that's my life. That is my life. That's what I do. Than I did in the old bill. The old bill was a paycheck. It just got to a stage where it was just a job. I'll go and stack shelves. If I needed more money, I'll go and get a job driving, delivery lorry or courier or I'll do anything. Wherever I can get a job, I'll do it. I cleaned toilets on a building site before I went to uni, so I'll do that if I have to. You just make money, don't you? However you can.
Yeah, so that's absolutely it.
Mrs. does that.
Aye,
what's that?
That's true, Scott.
Mrs. does that. Cleans toilets.
Aye, but do you know what I mean? Like, a job's a job at the end of the day, innit? It's like whatever you need to do to get money to pay the bills. Fine, it's got to be done. Yeah, I've had my fun driving around with blue lights. I've enjoyed that, but yeah, I'm a copper that the police don't want. Like the higher echelons in the police, they don't want police like me anymore. Like old school coppers, they don't want people like that. It's just a weird breed of
I've got a good friend who
people.
Cop for Strathclyde Police, and he says the exact same thing. All the young bucks coming through are a completely different breed. It's not what it used to be. Yeah,
it's not about right and wrong. It's not about old-fashioned coppering. It's just I know that's not right. I can't figure out exactly why that's not right at the moment, but I know that's not right, and I'm going to keep on at this till I figure it out. It's not about that at all anymore. It's do you tick this box? Do you tick that box? It's just not me anymore.
Right, next one. We've got a nice light-hearted one. Amy, have you got shares in Brewdog? I've seen a lot of Brewdog in your podcast.
I finished it all. I finished it all. We had a barbecue. God, it's 2 years ago now almost. Basically, sort of mid-September, every year mid-September, since my wife and I moved into our new house, we would just have a big barbecue where we'd get everyone from work, but we worked on separate teams. So we'd figure out a date when most people were all off, and we'd get everyone and their families round. So you had 40, 50, in fact, I think we had 80 odd people here on the first day. So people would arrive, we provided all the food, they just had to bring beer. That was it. You bring the beers, we'll sort the food out. So by sort of 2-3 years of this, I had quite a lot of booze sitting in the garage. So when I started the podcast, I had crates of Brewdog, and I don't drink, to be honest with you. I very rarely drink. I only ever drink during the podcast now, so once a week. But I had all this Brewdog there that people had brought. Well, you're Scottish, you'll like this, And as it turns out, they come from near where I grew up anyway. They come from Ellen. So yeah, so I'd have every podcast with a Brewdog, didn't I? And people started thinking I was sponsored by them, and I wish I was, but no, I'm not. I've even tried to get them on the podcast, but they're not having it. So.
Yeah. Oh, he's froze. He's These gremlins must be in.
It's a Mr. Burns look at it.
It is. That's who it is.
well, his bike's been named Smithers. We did a poll on the page, and I had got a side by side with him laughing and Mr. Burns laughing, and I said he looks at Mr. Burns. His bike needs to be called Smithers. We did a big poll, and so he's now got a sticker on his bike, and it's now Smithers.
That is genius. That is absolute genius.
I heard that as I was disconnected.
I'm sorry, man. That is awesome. That is brilliant.
Right. So Stuart's question. Forget about the Mr. Burns stuff. There's quite a long question now. What was that? Out of all the equipment and gear you took with you in your expedition, what surprised you, how good it was, and what disappointed you in its performance?
And Stuart's a tech.
Aye.
Zedhead is a very techy person.
Okay. I took a thing with me called a spot tracker, which is like an emergency, like a beacon thing. It's not something that I would have taken, but somebody very early on, when I first made it public that I was going to do this trip, contacted me and said, look, we're a company, we can't give you any money, but we really want to make sure you're safe. Can we buy you one of these spot trackers? And I'd never heard of them before. So, you know, it was just, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. So I got this spot tracker, and what it did is it logged me GPS wise. It logs you the whole time. So it's constantly sending out like a beacon to track you. And it had a big SOS button on it, so that if you found yourself in the sticky stuff, worst case scenario, you could hit the SOS button, and wherever you are in the world, that would notify the local emergency services wherever you are. So, you know, if you were somewhere that didn't have like the fire brigade or the police, or if you're somewhere like that, then it also notified the international rescue authorities. So it's just like I need the Thunderbirds, come get me kind of thing. So I never ever envisaged I would use that, and I never did use that. But it also had some social media functions on it, so that you could link it up to like your Facebook account. I don't think we had Instagram at that time. I had Facebook. I think Twitter had come out then, but I don't think there was Instagram. But I could hit this button at the end of every day, and it would automatically post on my Facebook page with a Google Map reference, and it would just say hi. You could like set up a default on it with a little message, and that's what I did. That basically said, "Hello, folks. I'm finished for the day, and I'm here. If you click the map, this will show you where I am." So that's what I had. And it's a great way. It's a great way of engaging with the people that following. But it was great for my missus and my family. My son was following, so they could see where I was at the end of every day. And as it turned out, I had a mate from uni that I used to have the company with, who's a bit of a techie guru, and he hacked into it and created a little app. Well, before apps were a thing, really, but he created a little widget for my website that took that GPS information and overlaid it onto a Google map, and it basically would plot my whole route as I went along. So from start to finish, you could see how the whole, and I've lost that now. I used to have it, but I've lost it. I'm gutted, because it was such a cool map. But that, as it turned out, was a great little thing to have with me, because it was engaging, it was reassuring for family, it was cracking.
Sense of security as well.
What was that, Paul?
It would give you a good sense of security.
Aye, you know, even with what happened in Mauritania, after that, I was never ever like scared after that. I can genuinely, hands up, I can say I never ever thought, oh, this is bad. There's be times when I'd be like, okay, what's going to happen here? But you just, once you're in a trip like that, you just go with it. You know, I think you go with your spidey senses. I think that's probably the best bet. Is if something looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, that's probably a duck. And if you're not in the mood for a duck, go the other way. So that just tends to be how I am anyway when I'm on a trip. Bit of kit that disappointed me the most: the subframe on the Gixxer.
I was going to say that,
but then you know, the fact that subframe broke put me in situations where I met some of the most amazing, friendly people.
Yeah.
And it just adds to, imagine doing a trip like that and nothing went wrong.
Yeah.
How boring is that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Much fun.
You may as well just get on the M8 and just ride from Glasgow to Edinburgh every day. What's the point? You know, it's the fact that things don't go to plan, things go wrong. You put out your comfort zone. You're forced into meeting new people who don't speak English and you don't speak their language. You know, it's all of those things put together that make it such a unique experience.
Yeah.
Aye, that make it an adventure. Yeah, definitely. So apart from, I'm trying to think if there's any other bit of kit that disappointed me. Oh, nailed it. Aye, nailed it. What a bag of shit. Yeah, GoPros. And still to this day they've not sorted out reliability. There's not an action camera out there yet for me, and I've tried them all. There's not an action camera out there that's 100% reliable. The drifts just shit themselves constantly. The audio was crap. The DJIs, I thought, oh, DJI, they'll be good. They had loads of glitches in their stabilization, and the audio would go wrong. And then the GoPros, I've got a vid coming out very soon. I've figured out what the issue is with the GoPro, so there's a vid coming out on that, and that seems to be 100% faultless now. But then the camera still freezes, you know. It won't switch off or it won't switch on, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. So yeah, GoPros. Yeah.
There you go. That's for Stuart. David Walker, any regrets about leaving the police to concentrate on YouTube? We've kind of covered that, haven't we? Aye.
I don't. I regret that my career in the old bill ended the way it did. That's not how I envisaged it. But I'm 100% happy that I'm not in the old bill now. Definitely.
Next question is, this is a question where I've never watched a video you laugh so much, or a series of videos. So, planning any more small CC adventures? See the Little Big Adventure? Oh my God.
Brilliant.
You laugh so much. So did everybody, to be honest.
Genuinely, I think that's probably the most fun I have ever had on a motorbike. It was just hilarious from the get-go, because you had me and John, Mr. Fish. I mean, he's 6'2", 6'3". He's not shy of 20 stone either. So you got us two fat knackers, like blokes in our mid to late 40s, on these tiny little bikes, you know, and you're like revving the nuts out of them. They're doing 40, 45 mile an hour. It was just a scream. It was just a riot. And then meeting up with Dickie as well up there, it was just brilliant fun. So yes, we do have plans. COVID obviously booted a lot of that in the nuts, but we do have some plans, and I'm not going to go into any details, but potentially there's some pretty decent things coming up. We'll see. Right. But again, they don't do well. These videos don't do well view wise.
It's mental how I don't know how it doesn't happen.
But that's the world of YouTube, though, isn't it?
It really annoys me, I think at the moment it annoys me more now than it ever has, and I don't really know why, but it's really pissing me off at the moment. Is that, you know, these videos where you spend hours and days editing them, and it's all original, your own content, and they get, you know, if you get 10,000 views, you know, 15,000 views on it, that is amazing to get 10, 15,000 views for one of these vids, certainly in like a week, 2 weeks. And then you look at some of the vids that people are putting out where they're basically just the press pack, you know, like a manufacturer will come to you and go, on this day, date, time, place, we've got a bike launching, and there's an embargo on any of these pictures or videos being released until that date. But they give them to you. And then all that people do is they take that content, those pictures and those videos, they create their own little vid on this new bike launch, overdub it with their own audio.
Yep.
There you go. They put a video out. It's like a 6-minute vid that's taken them a couple of hours to edit, and they get like 100, 200,000 views. Yeah. You're just like, for fuck's sake. You know? But if you want to grow on YouTube, that's what you have to do. That's the type of content you have to create.
Which is just, I mean, the 125 stuff was absolutely fantastic, Little Big Adventure. But then there was the other one, which was the planes versus bikes.
Yeah, bike versus planes, yeah.
Aye, it was fantastic. But as you say, the views weren't great. It's mental.
I think we sort of shot ourselves in the foot with that. Myself, TMF, Lamb Chops, Richie Vegas, and Andy Mancam as well. We thought, you know, across the 5 of us, that's quite a chunk of the moto vlogging world, really. You know, TMF at the time had like 100,000. I think Lamb Chops had 40,000. I had 20, 25, 30,000. We all had big subscriber base, and we thought, this is going to be brilliant. You know, this will be massive. Who will not watch this? Yeah. And unfortunately, the way we did it, there was really only myself and Lamb Chops that actually did our own edit, because Lamb Chops did a basic edit and gave that to TMF, and TMF did his own little bit on it. Richie took a version of that for his vid. So really there's only 2 versions. And I think Andy Mancam might have done his own version as well. But in the UK based, there's only really myself and Lamb Chops who made our own vids out of it. He released his first. Then I think TMF chucked his out. So by the time my vid came out, everyone's watched the first 2 and gone, they're the same. so that nobody bothers watching any others.
Yeah.
So we kind of shot ourselves in the foot there. Yeah.
As you say, it's down to making 6-minute videos about press releases and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's weird because it's not weird. You need to, when you're thinking about making a vid for YouTube, you have to decide beforehand, what is the point of this vid? Is this vid to grow your channel? Is the vid aimed at subscribers, new subscribers, or is it aimed at your current community that have invested in you and they've been there and they know what type of vids you produce and they know you as a person? Those two markets are entirely different. So my vids my trip vids and all this, they're much longer, you know, and I'm just the way I'd like to think I'm no different in person like now than I am when I'm doing one of my vids. It's just, that's what I am. I talk a lot of shit and that's just how I am. But I think for a new subscriber, they maybe when they turn up, they're used to quick dynamic videos and they turn up to mine and I'm chatting away like I'm your mate and you know me because the people that have been around do, you know, and I think that can put a lot of new people off because they're like, oh, well, I'm not part of this. I'm not part of this group. I need this information now. Tell me it now, you know, and they want information really quick. So I need to start addressing that new market a little bit while still keeping my existing market. It's a balancing act.
Balance, yeah.
But it's two different type of vids.
That's what I was touching on earlier when you were coming on this podcast, we kind of put some stuff out there as we would, you know, a small channel, whatever. No, this is a big thing for us. As I was saying at the beginning, the round the world trip, it was a kind of 50-50. Bruce done round the world in a jigsaw. When was this? And then you'd say he does review videos, bike review videos, and then you had some folk going, oh, aye. And they were the ones that didn't know about the round the world.
Right. So yeah.
It seems like you're kind of capturing, what's the word? Two different audiences at 2 different times. It's kind of weird.
I did actually have a bit of a consultation with a YouTube chap recently, and that's exactly what he said. You know, he came from no background knowledge of me whatsoever. He just spent a week or so looking at the channel, and that's exactly what he said. He said there's 2 different sides to you and your channel here. It's that if I watch any of your new stuff, I don't know anything about what you've done beforehand.
Previously,
you know, he said there's no link. You need my whole thing's about live your life. And he said, why do you say live your life at the end of it? It's not until I started digging into the origins of the channel. And he said, you need to connect this. If that's your thing, live your life, which it is. He said, you need to figure out a way of connecting it all. So that's where I'm at the moment, is really like, right, okay, how do you do this then?
How do you go back?
It sounds impossible. It sounds impossible. Aye.
I don't think the thing with YouTube, right, is nothing is quick. You know, it's any change you make to your videos or your channels today, you're not going to see any real effect probably for another 4 to 6 weeks down the line. That's when you'll start seeing differences in your analytics, and you'll start seeing either a lot more views, a lot more impressions, or a lot less. You know, it's a difficult one because you're not, you know, it's like driving a car and knowing that 8 miles down the road is a left-hand bend, and you know that you have to turn 8 miles before that bend comes up. It's one of the, you know, you're turning knowing that it's going to take 8 miles before, like an oil tanker. It's going to take all that time for the vehicle to actually move. You know, it's what if you make that wrong choice today? 6 weeks down the line, it might be detrimental to your channel. So you're like, oh.
I think a lot of it on YouTube's down to the time scale of your videos as well. As you were saying earlier on, people watch podcasts and watch them for maybe 25, 30 minutes, and then they kind of retention, right, I'll turn that off, we'll go back to it later. I think you get that out with the smaller videos. The smaller the video, the bigger the views. I always tend to, just that's what I see in the thing as well. Because people don't want to sit there for 25 minutes and, as you say, rabble on. Because if I go into the bike, I just rabble on, talk absolute nonsense. But people don't want to see that. They just want to see the quick vid with the information that needs to be given, and then they can turn off and go and watch the next one.
Yeah, it's staggering when you talk to these YouTube specialists, and they have software that, you know, your camera on your phone, the camera on your computer, it's looking at you, you know, and people at Google and that, they have access to that information, and they are looking to see where is your attention on the screen, what is it that you're looking at, so they can measure people's retention rates and their attention spans. And on YouTube, it's ridiculous. It's like now between 3 and 5 or 3 and 7 seconds. That's all you've got. That first 3 to 7 seconds. Yeah, and all they do is just, if they don't like it in that first, say, 5 seconds, click on the next vid. What's the shiny thing that grabs them from the thumbnail? Both, which is why clickbait works. Yeah. Everyone goes on about clickbait, but it works, you know. And you know,
how do you feel? I've got a question for myself. How do you feel when you shoot a first ride video or first review video, and then you get TMF, right? He's got such a hard edit, right? It's quite a hard edit, and he does a lot of his stuff in one edit, like it's conversation, and he'll get 100,000 views, get 100,000 views or something, and then you're sitting going, I put all that work in.
He laughs. I mean, he laughs in my face, not in a bad way. I love him. Andy honestly he's salt of the earth. He's such a nice geezer. He's incredibly competitive, and he would never hide that. He is. It's like, well, you've had 2 views, I've had 4. You know, that's what Andy's like. He's just like that. And he laughs at that because he knows he's not the world's best editor at all. And he knows how much effort, like myself and Rich in particular, puts a lot of work into his edits. And Lamb Chops he's upped his game with his production quality as well now. He's producing really good vids. And Andy himself is literally, he'll go out for half an hour on a bike, you know, an hour or 2 edit, boom. I'll get 120,000 views on that, you know, and I'll get 4,000 after spending 5 solid days and nights creating like my masterpiece. Nobody watches it.
There must be a reason for it.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Andy's now at that stage where he's nearly 200,000 subscribers. Yeah. So even if 10% of his subscriber base watches his vids, that's 20,000 people. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Whereas 10% of my subscriber base is 5,000 people. Well, that sort of correlates, because I'll get 5,000 views, he'll get 20,000 views. You know, but to be honest, he'll get about 100,000 views. But straight away, he's got a bigger net to cast to get those people in. You know what I mean? Straight away. Yeah. And to get to that stage, Andy put in a hell of a lot of work. TMF put in. You've got to give that man credit. He was chucking out 3 to 5 videos a week, and he did that for, I think, 2 years on the bounce. That is phenomenal work to do that. You know, and that the reason he can do that is because his edits were very simple, very straightforward. And it worked. You can churn the vids out. Churn the vid out. So it's probably something, I don't know if you could do that now. I don't know if that would work now. And certainly if I was to start doing stuff like that, I think I'd probably lose a lot of my current community, because they expect 15, 20-minute vids. They expect the drone shots. They expect the music.
They expect you to put in the work.
Aye, they expect that sort of like little mini film experience. Almost. I'm no Spielberg, don't get me wrong. I'm not sucking my old dangly here. But you know, my vids are definitely different to just putting a GoPro on and going for a ride. You know, I'd like to think there's a wee bit more to it.
But you wouldn't be happy with putting out a video like that anyway, would you? You'd rather do it the way you do it.
I have done it. You know, I have chucked out a vid of 12 to 15 minutes long on a first ride. I will occasionally do that. And to me, I'm just like, this is going to be shit. No one's going to like this. And they do get more views than my normal stuff. So probably I should do that, because you will get more views. But I don't enjoy it as much.
But you've still got to look, as you say, you've still got bills to pay. So if it's a case of it goes up the way, then that is nice.
It's getting that balance, isn't it? You know, it's you know, you got to be realistic at the end of the day. And as you said, you know, it is my own little business now, so you've got to think about you've got to think about the channel, and at the end of the day, I have to be appealing to potential channel sponsors. If I want to keep going down that route, I would rather not. But if I could go down the sort of the brand endorsement deal, where it doesn't really happen in the bike world, to be honest with you. But if you look at the tech world, you know, a new camera gets launched and companies will be like, you know, okay, we'll give you 10 grand, 15 grand to endorse this camera. Yep. That doesn't really happen in the bike industry, to be honest. Well, it doesn't happen in the bike industry in the slightest. But, you know, there's ways and means of making money out of your brand. And that. But to the same extent, I want to maintain the integrity around it. You know, I'm not going to say something's good if it's not good just because there's a paycheck. To me, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot there, because if I tell you something's good and it's bollocks, you spend your money on it, get it, and it is bollocks, you're never going to believe a word that comes out of my mouth, are you? So what's the point of that?
You've talked about this before.
44, I think 44 Teeth's channel should be so much bigger than what it is. I think those boys, for comedy sketch alone, those boys are hilarious.
They will. I reckon they'll get a TV deal. I reckon this year or next. I could see them getting like a Netflix or Amazon.
I think they've got to. But I think Barry Van Grumble brought a lot of his subscribers over to 44 Teeth. So
yeah.
He did.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. But then you look at, just look at the quality of their content. It's awesome. You know, it's fantastic. It's brilliant, and it's growing and growing and growing.
And if you watch some of the trips that they do, like over to Benidorm and that, it's real life stuff that happened to people.
Aye. Mm-hmm.
So it is, and they're in a pickle and they can't get out of it, and I love it. I think it's brilliant. It's
relatable, isn't it? It's related to anyone that's ever gone away with their mates on a bike trip. The same sort of shit happens, you know. You might get stopped by the old bill. You might have breakdowns. You know, you might get accosted by 60-year-old prostitutes in a Spanish hotel. That sort of stuff just happens. It's just what happens when you're out there, isn't
it? Somebody can't leave Ayrshire for a bike trip. Nearly could. Scott used to have a really reliable GSXR 600, and it didn't leave Kilmarnock.
No,
did it not?
No, it's atrocious.
It would have been Glasgow rather than Australia.
Oh no.
So Scott's missed a few trips.
I'm still absolutely blown away that you left the country in a Gixxer. Never mind.
Do you know, I didn't have mechanical. Okay, the subframe weight on it, but I don't think I had any proper mechanical issues with the bike the whole trip.
No, you raved about the engine constantly.
I had a mechanical issue every week.
No, I mean that bike, it was flooded. You know, I literally did like a proper river crossing on it, and it got submerged up to the air intakes. It got shot at. It's been thrown down the road umpteen times. It's been in 53-degree heat. It's been in minus 38. It did everything, that bike. Crazy. And if I changed the battery, changed the oil, it would fire up in the garage now. I'll almost guarantee that.
And here's a question: Would you ever sell it?
Never.
No, never. No, for the money I wanted.
No. It's my baby, that.
Do you ever get asked to take it to shows?
No. I mean, I've had it. I've had it at like the NEC, but that's because Nathan Millward asked if I would take the bike, because he often sets up like an adventure or an overland stage at like the NEC show and at the London Excel show, and they would love you to have the bike there because people love to see it, don't they? Yeah, but I mean, I don't ride the bike anymore, and I don't own a van, so now I can't take it anywhere. So unless they've got a van that they can do it, it doesn't go anywhere. So yeah, it just sits in my garage.
Does it still have the tie wraps? Is it still in the same situation as it was?
Tie wraps.
Yeah. Like the cargo net holds the back of the bike on. Like all the plastics around the pillion seat and the number plate and the indicators, everything at the back is held onto the subframe with a cargo net. You know, and it's been like that since about. Oh, crikey. Definitely since Peru. Chile, probably Chile. Since I arrived in South America from Australia, the back fell off the bike, and I just sort of cargo netted it back on, and it,
That's been it.
just did the rest of the trip like that.
We've spoke a few times about having a little stall up at the Scottish bike show. I tell you, so I'm getting that bike up to Scotland.
Honestly, I would love for her to. I would love for that bike to, to get the recognition she deserves. She's a cracking little thing, and I even said to Suzuki, "Look, you can have it for your headquarters if you want." And I didn't even get a reply. So,
Jesus, what is it? Just shy of 100,000 miles.
103,000 miles, I think she's got on her now. Yeah.
It's definitely needs to be. It needs to be at bike shows. People need to see it.
Yeah.
I think so. I think it would be. I think that would be fantastic if you could go to a bike show and it was there. That'd be good.
Well, somebody was saying about. Sorry, go on.
No, only go.
Someone was saying, I think someone had some connections with Dutch at the bike shed in London.
Yeah.
So they were like, oh, it would be cool to have it at the bike shed, and I was like, fucking yes, that would be amazing to have it, there. But nothing ever happened, so
nothing came back.
Still in my garage. So.
Madness for all it's been through.
I know.
The story it could tell, unbelievable.
I know. But then it's nice to go out. It's nice to go out in my garage and see her. And I do. Yeah, I have a wee sit on her, and yeah, it's nice. Bring every little mark on her's got. You remember where that scratch came from, or it's still got all the dirt on it from the whole trip, pretty much. So.
So let's hopefully get a wee bit of exclusive here for you. What's happening with the motorbike show?
Oh, I got you. Yeah, TV show.
We've not seen much yet. We've not seen much. I was expecting to see a wee bit more.
We haven't started filming. Basically, Tom and Graham, who film, produce, edit, and Graham presents the Adventure Bike TV show. Well, they're the same people that do the motorbike, or will be doing the Motorbike TV show. So it's the same company behind the two shows. At the moment, the Adventure Bike TV show, that is due to air on Amazon, I think in June. So they're trying to get all that filming done now and then edited, ready to go in June. So as soon as that's done, we'll start filming the Motorbike TV show, because that doesn't air till August.
Right.
So I think pretty much from, I think Tom said April or May, from then on, it's just going to be all systems go, because we've really only got about a month or two to film the 5 episodes for the first season. So yeah, it's exciting. I'm looking forward to it. It should be quite cool.
Any wee bits about what the 5 episodes are? Or no.
I'll tell you one thing I might be getting involved with, and I am getting involved with, and this is an exclusive. I'm going to be pit crew at a Moto 2 race.
Brilliant.
I've got no idea what I'm going to be doing. I've been told I'm pit crew. I don't know what team, but I'm pit crew with one of the teams on a Moto 2 race, and I know all about mechanics, so that could be quite interesting. I think I'll be making the tea.
Look what Guy Martin did. Although he is very mechanically minded, and then they asked him to change a tyre, and he could not change a tyre.
Yeah.
So, you're hope for you.
Well, it doesn't bode well, does it? Because I mean, that bloke basically builds his own bikes and trucks, and he failed. He failed
on a daily basis. He plays about the trucks.
I know. So what am I going to be like?
I'll make good telly.
Oh, that's good.
Maybe you're going to be the refuel guy that goes out and goes.
I said to the director, I said, "Look, I tell you what, I'll do the lap board. I'll be the board guy." And then I thought, actually, that's a really responsible job. No, don't make me that one. Yeah, we'll see. Basically, every episode is going to have a different theme. So one episode might be electric. One episode might be, one episode was going to be the TT, but obviously TT's not happening now. So I think their focus is going to be more on the Isle of Man and the racing, road racing, I think, history and stuff around there. There'll be one that's going to be focused on MotoGP. Obviously, that's when I'll come in. And each episode will have a different sort of main principal bike that will be getting reviewed, and lots of other little ancillary things based around it. The long and short of it is I don't exactly know yet what the plan is. That's about as much as I know just now.
That's good.
And if I never did, I couldn't tell you anymore.
You just touched on the electric there. I was watching your review of the live wire. You've got that up there as the best overall electric bike.
Yeah. There are, for me, it just had something different about it. It felt different to the other electric bikes. It felt. Have you ever ridden a Harley? Have you ever ridden any Harleys?
I just have one.
Right.
He used to have one.
I don't know about you, but Harleys feel different to me to ride than any other bike. And I'm not saying they're better or they're worse mechanically. There's just a different feel. It feels, I don't know why, it feels a bit special when I ride it. I feel like I'm part of something when I ride a Harley.
I get it, aye.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. It can be the most basic engineering out there, literally bag of nuts and bolts, rattling away. Yeah. There's plenty of faster bikes, there's plenty of better built bikes, but it's just got a feel about it. And the live wire, it had that special feeling. Because I've ridden most of the main electric bikes, mainstream electric bikes that are out there at the moment, the Zeros and the Energicas, and that just felt different. Just I enjoyed it.
I think the styling alone, just gets it apart straight away.
Yeah. I mean, electric is such a contentious issue. You know, people are 100% behind it, and they are 1,000,000% against it. You know, and it's like, my cold dead hands, will you prize the key for my bike from my hand and replace it with an electric? And I get it. I totally get that. I was like that till I rode one. And now I'm not that bothered at the thought of there not being petrol bikes anymore.
They just did a big announcement there on Monday, didn't they? That rather than, you don't have to go to a charging station now, they're going to try this swap and go. So you're going to take the battery out the bike, you're going to sit it on the swap and go, and you're going to take a completely rechargeable one that's already recharged and pop it straight in, rather than waiting 40 minutes for your 80% or whatever it may be.
I've always said that. That's what it needs. Because at the moment, no matter how good the batteries get, you're never going to get to a place where it can compete with petrol for convenience. Where you turn up and you spend, for a motorbike, you might spend absolute max 4 or 5 minutes stood there topping up your tank. Yep. And then, you know, you put the nozzle down, you've got a queue, you pay, you're back. So worst case scenario, 10 minutes maybe to get in, fill up and get going again. Right? With electric, you're talking minimum, if you have the fast DC chargers and you find a fast DC charger that's free, it's working, then you can get in there. Minimum, you're looking at 20 minutes to be able to get another 15, 20 miles down the road. Mm-hmm. So you're never going to compete with the convenience until you got to a position, like you just said, where you can rock up, take the battery out, whack it into a charger, pay your money, take that battery out, whack it in, and you can Foxtrot Oscar.
Yeah,
but then you've got all the logistic problems that come with that, you know, they're going to have to try and monitor, because a battery only has a set amount of recharging cycles, doesn't it? Yeah. It's on it. And you're going to have to, they're going to have a system in place that monitors how many times that battery's been recycled, how many times has it been charged. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, you're going to have to bosh that and get another one, the fresh one to put in there. So it's all things like that. And then it's like, well, batteries suffer really bad with the cold. Yeah. So what are you going to do in Scotland, Scandinavia, Canada, all these sorts of places? You know, in the winter when it gets really cold, what you do? What you do when it's peeing down with rain? What if there's a shot? Well, that's not so much an issue now, to be honest, with the rain and stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of logistical issues around it. They'll figure it out.
I think they're setting up 5. I think it's called Swap and Go. I think they're setting up 5 round the world as a test. So they are, but then again, you've got not everybody has the same size of battery, same shape of battery. Every battery's different. So you've also got that aspect. I think it's Honda, Yamaha, and Piaggio. I think that's the big 3 that's backed it at the moment. Okay. They're going to do a test. I'm sure it's called Swap and Go though.
Well, to be honest, if when they do that, if that picks up in the sense that they get sales out of it, and people start specifically buying Yamaha Piaggios because they have that facility, then you bet your bottom dollar everyone will do it, because everyone's going to want a slice of that action, aren't they? Everyone's going to. If you're getting 10 customers to my one, I need to adopt what you're doing.
Money to be made at the end of the day.
Absolutely, totally, yeah. It'll happen. There's no getting away from it. It's coming, and then it's coming in our lifetimes.
It's coming quick.
It is. It is. Yeah. But honestly, it's nothing to worry about. It genuinely, they're fucking hilarious. They're so much fun to ride. You've never felt speed like an electric bike. Phenomenal.
I think, Scott, we were in Edinburgh at Soul Tire Motorcycles, and we were standing up on our bikes, having a burger, and then this bike just went.
He's on the page. He rides a Zero.
Aye.
Right. I think he put up. He's got the app Relive, where he went on the bike that day. I think he made that with foil. Don't quote me on that. I think he did. He raves about it. He thinks it's brilliant. But obviously, he got quite a big backlash because of that comment. But like you say, I think I read in the paper by 2030 they're going to stop the sale of new petrol and diesel engines. Don't know if that's
cars.
The cars.
It's not motorbikes yet, but that'll come. That will come.
It's going to come eventually. So I think we just need to start picking what one we want to go with.
I think you're just going to lose the noise of a bike. You put on a stubby can onto a bike, and you're going to take all that away. The vibration, the likes of a Harley, on them, the vibrations, the knocking you get off that. You're missing the whole biking experience.
You are, but you get a lot more. Well, you don't get not more, but you get other things that replace it. The fact that there is no engine noise means that you hear a whole load of other things when you're out on the bike. It's a real surreal experience. When you're going down a backcountry lane, like on a when you're on a motorway, if you're at 60, 70, 80, 90 mile an hour, all you hear is wind. That's all you're going to hear anyway, generally,
Unless you've got your headset.
Aye, exactly.
I think
But an electric bike, when you're on like the backcountry twisties, where you're 15 mile an hour to 50 to 60, maybe 70, and then you're back down into your 40s and 30s, and you're up and down in speeds all the time. On the electric bike, it's crazy. You'll hear the tractors in the farm. You sneak up on stuff. I remember going down country roads, and there's still bunny rabbits sat in the road because they haven't heard you coming. You come round the corner, and there's this wildlife. Where the fuck did you come from? It's weird. I came up behind an electric car, and the two of us were just going down this country lane, and it's just serene. It's just quiet. You just hear the road noise, the tires on the road and stuff. It's just a weird feeling. Plus, you're on like a 130 mile an hour milk float. It's like it sounds like one of the Return of the Jedi jet bikes. The noise. It makes that weird noise.
It does. The newton meters of torque on them are frightening.
Crazy.
Right for the beginning, isn't it?
That Rebelli I took out, the Energica Rebelli, that had... Was it the Rebelli? One of them has 250 Newton, 250 or 260 Newton meters of torque. But the Rocket 3's got 240, and that thing will rip your spine out when you hit the throttle. And this electric bike basically goes, yeah, whatever, hold my beer. It's crazy.
You see that with the Tesla? Me and Mark were out last week, and I was on the Fireblade, and I pulled away, and this Tesla just came out of nowhere, and he was sitting right up my ass, and I was like,
"Yeah,
did that just come from?" One, you didn't hear it, and two, I didn't see it because it was by me in a flash.
Yeah, I made the mistake of trying to overtake a Tesla in Scotland on my GS, and this old boy that was driving, literally as I pulled up alongside him, he looked at me, smiled, and just shot off, and I was like, I can't compete with that.
It's so difficult, unbelievable.
Yeah.
That guy
what you're saying about? Sorry, go on.
You go. I was just going to say that guy gave us a good run for our money on that Tesla. It was just unbelievable.
I'd love to try one. Have you ever driven one? I've never tried a Tesla.
No.
Yeah, pretty special. I was just picking up on what you said earlier about the noise. You know, you're going to miss the noise of the petrol bikes. I totally get that, because I love that as well. And my garden, the bottom of my garden over the sort of way is a main popular road, and all you hear is the bikes screaming up. I love it. Neighbours hate it, but I love it. But just look at what's going on at the moment. You know, not just, I've noticed it in this country now, they've started to make a deal about bike noise, but look what's happening in the continent. France has already started bringing down the decibel levels, so people are getting stopped, and they're targeting, you know, they were targeting British bikes when they see them. Germany now does it. Germany now has restrictions on not only noise levels, but days you can ride your bike, what roads you can ride your bike on. In the continent, in certain countries, they are really starting to tighten down on bikes, and a lot of it is because of noise. So if you can sort of negate the noise factor with an electric bike, then not everyone loves bikes, do they? So those that hate the noise about bikes and stamp and kick and scream and shout about it, well, if they've not got the noise to moan about, then that can only be a good thing for us, because we're not the majority, are we? We're a minority in the majority. So although I get it, I totally get it. I love a loud can. I love the sound of, you know, a screaming engine. If it means that we can keep the bikes, then I'll take electric. Yeah, no probs.
My neighbours love me at 5:30 in the morning.
Aye. I used to have a Tuono with an Austin Racing straight through can, and I think about it now, and I think you utter prick. But I used to be out there at like 4:30, about 4:30 in the morning in Watford, starting my bike up to get into work. I mean, my neighbours must have hated me, absolutely hated me, because it was obscenely loud. But oh well.
No, I think the only time I never started my bike at that time in the morning is the next door neighbour had a wee baby, so I just rolled. I had the Harley at the time, I rolled it down to the bottom of the street and then started it off again. But 9 times out of 10, I've got 2 kids in that. If I'm up, everybody's up.
Where we go? We'll go back to the questions. I've got one question here for Robert Quinn, who's got his own wee channel called Lockwood. Would you ever shave your beard off, even for charity? You're getting asked this a lot recently.
I do, yeah. That's the only reason I would, at the moment, the only reason I would shave this off would be for charity, but it would have to be for a lot of money and for a charity I back. You know, it would have to be a charity I think a lot for. But I would do it if it would raise a significant amount for him. Then yeah, I'd shave it off for charity. But at the moment, that's the only reason.
Say a million. Say a million.
For a charity? Oh God, yeah, aye, no problem. I'd shave it off for that, no bother.
You look as if you've gave it a wee trim recently anyway, have you not?
I tidied up the edge round here. Yeah, I shaved my head in there because I had to do basically we had to do a bit of a photo shoot for the TV show, and I looked like Uncle Albert. I looked like a proper baby, so I was like, I need to sort this out.
During the war?
Yeah, during the war. Yeah. So I had to have a little bit of a trim for that.
Well, that's us 2 hours and 3 minutes in. Anybody get any? I've ran through all the questions that we got. So,
I've got one. The tractor on the track. Would you do it again, but actually give it a bit of welly this time? Because I know you dropped in the novice section, didn't you?
I did. I definitely would. I definitely would. It's just that thought of watching it slide down the track, innit? You know, and I mean, I'll definitely do it again. I think I'm doing one of my channel sponsors now is Bimoto, and the guy that does that also does the PR for, I think it's the new Superbike School, you know, California Superbike School. Used to have, well, they went under last year, but they've basically been bought out by. It's weird. It's the same people that used to work there sort of came together on a bit of a conglomerate, I think, and had an investor, and they've resurrected it. So that'll be starting again, I think, this year. So I'm hoping. I think trying to get lamb chops along if we can. So if me and him can get on track on our bikes, that could be a giggle. We'll see. But yeah, I definitely take the GS on track. It's great fun. That's
the only thing I don't ever take the Z on track, because the amount of money I've put into it and the thought of it sliding down. I'd love to take it on the track, but for that reason, I don't think I would ever do it.
The thing is, though, it's safer on track than it is on the road. But
I know
it's always in your head, isn't it? It's always in your head.
I think you end up being a bit more braver on the track because the roads, obviously, the surface is going to be far better and wider to take corners, and so you need to be a wee bit braver.
But then, you know, your tyres are much stickier on track because they get so much hotter on the track than they do on the road. So they're stickier. So you can take a few more liberties, as long as you're not like right on the limit of the tyre grip. But I'd never get to the limit of the tyre grip.
No, I mean,
it'd be my own stupid, idiotic self that would do something stupid, brake at the wrong point or something that would cause it.
Yeah, front end going under there.
Oh Jesus! It's the worst feeling in the world. That I've had that a few times. It's horrible.
I've got a wee quick question for you. See yourself, TMF, lamb chops, Dickie Vegas. I'm just keep saying that because I'll annoy him if he ever did watch this, which I doubt.
Dickie Ennis.
Aye, Dickie Ennis. I didn't want to push it that far, but that's. How did you guys actually start talking to each other? Has that always been a thing?
No, it was just YouTube really. I think most of I think they followed my trip, or they knew of me because of my trip. But my channel wasn't, wasn't big. I think I had 600 subscribers by the end of the trip. So it was certainly no competition for them or anything like that. Then sort of towards the end of 2016, I started doing regular videos again, and that's when I saw a big uptake in that first year. I sort of went from 600 subscribers to I think 10,000 in about the first year, which is, for the bike industry at that time, that was a lot at that point. So I sort of came on their radar. I would comment on their vids because I'd always watched them anyway. And, they would start chatting on mine. And then I was often at the bike shows. I was at the NEC show and the London show because of the Round the World trip. So I was there, and, I just meet them. They would come by and say hello, and we're like, right, we need to do something. We've got to do something together. And we sort of all finally met at Toro in Spain back in 2018, 2018, one of those anyway. We all met at Toro Adventure down in Spain, and just hit it off. It's like we've always been best mates. So went down well, and we've kept in touch ever since.
Do you help each other out with different ideas and stuff like that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, TMF is so far ahead now that literally, I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's almost like we're underneath his feeding table getting the scraps. It's like, please TMF, could you do something with me so I might get some subscribers from you, please? It's that sort of stuff. And Chops is flying. It frustrates me because I see the effort that Richie puts into his vids, and he just doesn't. To me, it's like, you should have 3 times the amount of subscribers you've got for the quality of the work that he produces. But I think he falls into the same trap as me, in that we produce niche content within a very niche market. Yeah. And you appeal to you appeal to a very small amount of people in a small little group. So it's just one of those things, isn't it?
And it's the work that goes into your editing as well that's kind of, Richie's one for putting pictures. He'll stop and take a picture, then the picture comes up, and then different editing techniques. As you say, it's a niche market that and your videos are a wee bit longer than anybody else sort of idea. So could see that being the reason.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just the way it is, isn't it? I think it's good the way, certainly with the 4 of us, although we're covering the same thing, you're gonna get hopefully 4 slightly different videos between the 4 of us. Maybe myself and Rich might produce more similar content, but you know, TMF is just boom. There you go. That's it. This is what you're getting. I think probably Lamb Chops. Lamb Chops has got the best medium, I would say, definitely. And you can see that because his channel's flying now. That he's figured out his style, and it's a mixture of what myself and Rich do and what TMF does. You know, he puts a lot of work in, but he doesn't overproduce it. I think we probably put too much work into it when it's just not needed.
I think it goes back to when we were talking earlier on about how when you did your trip right at the very beginning, the first time, it was raw and you were captivating, as Scott said, they were just sitting watching like this. I think that's what it is. I think possibly start doing bits like that, you might just see yourself shooting again.
You think? Yeah. I kind of, so go on.
That's how I felt, that's how I liked it. You were just sitting there, and it wasn't the fancy editing that was gripping you. It was you in the moment, how you felt was making me go, that's how I would feel also.
Like effectively a live video.
Yes.
We're seeing it through your eyes rather than you know it's not edited. You know that's you. That's no a character you've made. That's not something you're making up. That is what is happening. Yeah, right there.
Okay, I get that. Yeah. Thing is, I think in my head I've done a couple of those in what I see as basic videos, and then I get feedback. I see the comments. You could read 9 great comments, and if you get 1 bad one, that's the one you're going to focus on.
Yeah.
But I'll get comments where it'll be that it's not up to your usual standard, you know, and that cuts because you're like, oh, I know it's not, and that's a conscious decision. Oh shit, you know, and it's like, oh bollocks. So then I almost put even more effort into the next video.
I think we'll go back. Obviously, we'll talk about the Rosso, but I'm trying to remember the other place you looked absolutely done. Is it Sumatra?
Oh yeah, Indonesia.
You looked absolutely done in that video.
Man, that's hard. That was.
I was sitting there like, oh my god! But it was so captivating, and I think that's what drew your attention towards it, because I felt that you just looked done in.
Absolutely drained.
I'd caught dengue fever there. I didn't know, but I had dengue fever at that point, and I didn't know that. So, you know, that I just felt like death. I had no energy whatsoever. It's 100% humidity. The air is thick with fumes. The pollution there is it's just phenomenal. You can see all that dirt. You know, at the end of the day, when my face is black, that's the air. That's all that is pollution in the air. And you know, I'm wearing a leather suit in 40-odd degree temperature, and it's hard going, really hard going, because it's just one big traffic jam. It's a 700-mile long island, Sumatra. So it's the top island. Basically, in Indonesia, you've got Sumatra, then you've got what's the middle one called? Oh, crikey, I've forgotten what the middle one's called. And then you've got Bali, and then you've got all the little islands all along the bottom there. There's loads of other little islands down the bottom, and that top one is hard work. It's literally just so congested with traffic. It's a 700-mile traffic jam. And it's just hard work to get through it. Crazy.
And you were only doing like 30 miles an hour or something, weren't you?
Yeah,
max.
Yeah. You couldn't go quick. Yeah. So it was hard. Beautiful place.
But that's one of those videos that you were just sitting and you're just, what's he going to do next? It was so raw, and you did look so done in.
It's weird. It felt like that.
Happy as well.
I was. You know, I was just.
I
was shagged. I was absolutely shagged. Well, the thing is that it's hard, and you're like, you know, I'm really not enjoying this. But at the end of the day, you're like, I'm still riding around the world. I can't complain about this. You know, it's one of those ones where it's just like, God. Okay, can we get through this onto the next bit, please?
How long did that take you to get through there in Sumatra?
Do you know, I can't remember.
700 mile doing 30 mile at levels.
Yeah.
That's a mission.
I can't remember. I remember there were set dates. I had to be places for ferries. Well, maybe not so much dates, but days, because if you missed them, it could be, you know, it might be another 3, 4, 5 days before the next ferry. So it's like, okay, you either really push on and get there for that, or take your time. And the thought of being stuck in that for any longer than it needed to be, it was just like, oh, just go, let's go. And there's not, you know, a lot of places in the world you can generally find, you know, a cheap hotel or a motel or something. But a lot of places in Indonesia and the islands, like the hotels I was finding for my budget were like shitholes, proper mosquito infested. They use the Southeast Asian toilet over there. So basically, it's, you know, the bucket of water and the hole in the yeah, like even in a nice hotel, if they have that sort of toilet, you're like, oh, that's just not what I want, you know. But on my budget, it literally was a hole in the ground and a bucket of mosquito infested shitty water, and you're like, oh, this isn't good. But it's just part of travel. That's part of that sort of travel.
Well, what's that?
Do it. It's great. Do it.
2 hours, 15 minutes. How are you feeling, Bruce?
Oh, good. Yeah, all good. I hope I've not bored everybody.
No, I love
that. Not at all.
Epic.
Nice one. Well, thank you very much for having me on. Appreciate it.
I feel as if we should let you go because you've gave us 2 hours, 15 minutes of your time with Chris stalking you. So I feel like we should definitely let you go. Did it feel different tonight where you get to talk about your thing? Because I think there's been so much more you've said tonight that I haven't heard before. So I think you've given a bigger insight into everything that you've kind of went through with the round the world trip and all the rest of it. So I've enjoyed it.
I'm glad you have. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me on.
Pokey podcast show.
Epic. No, thank you for. I don't get asked to go on people's podcasts, so thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it.
No, I would just say that thanks so much. And anybody that's ever watching, you got back to me within half an hour of an email, and it was brilliant because obviously other people just don't even bother to reply.
Just to be clear, Bruce, this missed man up here, I work on a night shift in a wind farm up a mountain. And I was on a night shift. It was 2:30. I think it was 2:30 in the morning. He phoned me, and he sounded like a 12-year-old schoolgirl on the phone. So, I'm going to believe this. You're not going to believe this. I was like, you're right. I probably won't, but tell me anyway. So TeapotOne coming on, and that was pretty much the phone call. It ended there.
No, like I said, you know, I appreciate you asking me on, and I do try and reply to all the messages and stuff, but it's getting a little bit. You just can't. You just can't a lot of the time. You know, it's like the comments and stuff. It's a great position to be in to have, you know, a lot of people trying to contact you. It's great, and I want to answer to everybody, but sometimes you just can't. Email's the best way, definitely.
Right.
Well, we really appreciate it. Thanks, Paul.
No bother.
I've got one last question. When you come back to Scotland?
As soon as we Jimmy Cranky will let us in, I'll be there. Don't worry. We kind of don't feel very welcome at the moment. So yeah, as soon as we're allowed to, I'll be. I've still got family there, and my dad's moving back soon. So yeah, I'll be back as soon as I possibly can. I love it. I will be moving back. The wife and I are moving up there eventually, but we've got a few things that we need to sort here. So it might be 5 years, 10 years time, but we'll be coming home. Don't worry.
Are you going back to Chicterland?
No, my brother lives in Perthshire. He lives near Crieff, and that's where my dad's moving to as well. Same wee village. So we want to move there. So that's where I'd like to go.
Nice part of the country.
Yes,
it's beautiful. Aye, my son lives in Glasgow, so you know we're close to him. So yeah, nice.
Well, next time you're in Scotland, we need to definitely meet up and have a brew.
Aye, definitely. Aye. I'll be up on the bike, so we can go for a hurl on the bikes. And
100%.
Beautiful. Let's do it.
Bruce, see if you move back up to Scotland, right? I can just guarantee that Chris is going to be outside your door.
Remember I worked in Glasgow version, boy?
It'll be the other way around. He'll be like that fucking teapot's on the phone again. Get rid of him.
Not at all. No.
If there's one last thing you could do, Bruce, is you say what you want to say, sign off the way you'd normally sign off, because that'd be an absolute privilege for you to do that. And we'll just kill it there.
Right, mega. Just thank you very much, boys, for having me on. Really do appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. To everyone that's listening, thanks for giving me a couple of hours of your time. If you've not checked out the channel, please do. It's just TeapotOne on YouTube. I'd really appreciate that. There's a podcast, Brew Time. It's on all the main podcast channels. And there is a YouTube channel for it as well, which is linked through the TeapotOne one. And yeah, if you see me out and about, if I'm up near your neck of the woods, give me a shout, let me know, and it'll be great to meet you. And in the meantime, keep looking after those that you love, keep doing your thing, keep getting on out there whenever you can, but most importantly, live your life. Woo-ha!
Yes.
Brilliant.
How's that?
Perfect.